In this lesson, we will learn how to define variables, use variables to perform calculations, and delete variables. We can assign pronumerals to have numerical values on the TI Nspire. To do this, we press Menu, select Actions, and select Define. Let's say we want W to be equal to 3. Once we have selected Define, we then enter in W equal 3 and then press Enter. Now when we type in W, the letter is bold. That's because we have defined it. Once we press Enter, we see that now 3 is the output. If we select another letter, say X, notice how it is not bold. That's because we haven't defined it to be anything. Anything that is defined on the TI Nspire will appear bold. Another way we can define something on the TI Nspire is to use the assign command. Let's say we want L to be equal to 4. So with this method, we can enter in our pronumeral L. Then to enter in the assign command, we press Control and then the template button underneath the delete button. This brings up the assign symbol. And then we enter in 4 and press Enter. So now that when we type in L, it is now in bold and it'll appear as 4. The third and final way to define something on the TI Nspire is to use the store command. Let's say we want A to be equal to 6. To use the store command, we type in our expression or our value, and then we press Control var to bring up the store arrow, and then select which pronumeral we'd like to store it as, in this case, A. And then press Enter. So the TI Nspire reads this as 6 is being stored as A. So now when we type in A, again, it is in bold, and we see that A is equal to 6. Let's say we'd like to redefine W to be 6. We can do this using any of the 3 methods we've seen so far. For example, we can use the assign command to assign W to be equal to 6. And now when we type in W, we see that it is now appearing as 6. To see everything that we have defined, we can press the var button on our handheld, which is short for variable. This displays a list of all of our defined objects. We can also use the TI Nspire to perform a substitution. Let's say we'd like to evaluate W times L times H. Again, notice that both W and L are in bold because they have been defined, whereas H has not been defined. So for us to perform a substitution, we can press Control and then the equal button. And then we need to select the vertical line, which means given or such that. So here we can tell the TI Nspire that we want H to be equal to 5. So the way the TI Nspire reads this is that we have W times L times H such that H is equal to 5. We press Enter and we see that we have 6 times 4 times 5 to give us 120. We can use any of 3 methods we've seen so far to define functions on the TI Nspire. For example, we'll define x squared plus 1 using the assign command. First, we type in our function notation, f brackets x and close brackets. And again, to enter in the assign command, we press Control and the template button. and then we enter our expression x squared plus 1. To perform a substitution using a function, we replace the input x with whatever we want. For example, if we wish to evaluate f at x equals 3, we replace the x with a 3 and press enter. And there we see we have 3 squared plus 1, which gives us 10. We can also substitute expressions into our defined function. For example, we could replace x with b plus 1 and press enter. And there, the TI Nspire will replace x with b plus 1. If we had made a mistake when defining something and wish to delete a variable, we need to press Menu, select Actions, and then select Delete Variable. Once we select Delete Variable, we then type in which variable we want to delete. For example, we may wish to delete w, and then we'd press Enter. If we want to delete multiple variables, we can put a comma in between each one. So in this case, we'll be deleting both w and l. So now when we type in w, we see that is no longer bold because that definition has been removed. That's all for this session.